Aaron McMahon, Ann Arbor News, MLive.com. You got a couple of, you mentioned athletics a couple of times now. I'm wondering how you view athletics and how it fits into the general university ecosystem.
I think that playing at the highest level is incredibly important for public research universities. The University of Michigan has a storied history and has a great set of teams right now across a wide group of different sports. It's a point of great pride for the institution. It knits the whole community together. So I think that there's a tremendous synergy between academics and athletics. And I want to do everything I can to ensure that Michigan competes at the highest level.
Hi, sir. First of all, welcome.
Thank you.
Kimberly Craig, Channel 7, Michigan alum. Go Blue.
Go Blue. Go Blue.
And what do you think is behind the connection that you're able to make with students? Why do you think that's so easy as it seems for you?
Well, you know, I am approaching 60 years old, so it's quite a distance between students and myself, but I think I'm young at heart. The reason why I have that connection is because students are the raison d'etre of a university. That's why universities were founded. And that's something, if you trace back the roots of this great institution, it was there. There was a tremendous vision to make a great university for the state of Michigan, initially in Detroit and moving out here to Ann Arbor when there were only a couple of houses, right, that actually housed the faculty and the students. And so the reason why I resonate with students is that I remember the transformative impact of my undergraduate education on my life. I've seen the transformative impact on many first-generation students. I have tremendous respect and I'm proud of the initiatives and investments that have been made over the past several years in access and affordability, and I want to grow and build upon that. The reason why I connect with them is that they inspire me. And as was said in the earlier remarks, students really help move the institution forward. That was true at the University of British Columbia, where student activism, and that's very true at Michigan if you think about the history of this great institution, student activism is often ahead of the faculty, staff, and administrators, and usually they're on the mark. And so, as an administrator, if you listen to students, you can really move the institution forward even more rapidly. And so I firmly believe that that connection is important. The other thing I said is that my job is to serve. That means that I need to be in touch with faculty, staff, and students, understand what their concerns are, what their aspirations are. My job is to do everything I can to make this the perfect place, or as good as possible, so that they can realize their dreams, so that their lives can actually be transformed, just like mine was when I was their age. So I draw energy from faculty, staff, and students in particular, and I can't wait to work with the students here.
Thank you, Rick. Dr. Ono, welcome. I'm
Santa.
Santa. Oh,
Not Dr.
okay.
Santa.
Santa. I'm Charlie Langton, Fox 2 News and WBJ Radio. So I looked at your social media. You've got quite a following on Twitter.
It grew about 1,000 folks over the past several hours for some reason.
I might have been one of them. I'm just curious, what do you think about social media in higher education? But the more important question, what will be your first tweet now that you're president?
Well, I got to have an account first, you know, so I don't quite have an account yet. But if you actually look in the public domain on YouTube and Google Santa Ono Creative Breakfast or something like that, I gave a talk about an hour in length about the role of social media and the role of the university or college president. I think one of the most important roles of a university or college president is to be a chief connector. And you do that through communications. And when you see that, or if you look it up, you'll learn that I was one of the early presidents to embrace social media. Back then it was Twitter, but there's so much more now. If you want to interact with the students, they're on Instagram. There's also this thing called TikTok, but I'm not brave enough to go there yet. But So to answer your question, social media is a one way that the younger generation, looks at and views the world as their lens. And so it's really important to have that in your portfolio of ways to communicate. But you need to communicate in many different ways, face-to-face. I like interacting with people at football games and basketball games. I like to go to meet with alumni around the world, so that direct interaction is really important. But social media is a pretty important medium for communication, and as I believe that the president's role is to be a chief connector, you can really use that for a positive advantage. There are some downsides and some things that make it difficult. Obviously, you hear everything. And you hear it when people are not happy, but that's actually a good thing if you know when people are not happy, so you can actually be responsive to that. I'll give you some funny things. When I was president of the University of Cincinnati, there was a vending machine that had no Cheez-Its in it. So students typically would direct message me and say, there are no Cheez-Its in this vending machine. So I was able to make a phone call, and they were able to replace the Cheez-Its, and the students were pretty happy about that. The other thing, which is, I guess, one of the more challenging moments is, I don't think it snows very much here in Ann Arbor, does it? But the students are actually pretty interested in these snow days. And so what happens is when it starts to snow, even just an inch of snow, in Cincinnati, I used to get tons of direct messages saying, are we going to get a snow day? Are we going to get a snow day? So those sorts of things happen as well. But it's really a good way for you to connect around the globe, really, with all kinds of people. So hopefully that answers your question.
Hi, Chandler Engelbrecht, Detroit Free Press. First of all, congratulations on this accomplishment, but I wanted to circle back to athletics.
Sure.
You mentioned your time at Cincinnati. A lot of your work there can be attributed to the athletics program that Cincinnati has built today. Making the college football playoff.
One of the top 4 teams with Michigan.
Yeah. So my question is, coming into a program that's athletics is already among the top in the country, what's the difference in building an athletics program and continuing its success? And then just to go along with that, in a world of NIL, what are your approaches to interacting with coaches and athletes as they weave their way through this new world?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to just say University of Michigan has, in my view, one of the best athletic directors anywhere. I've had a chance to interact with him. Let's hear it for him, Ward. Let's hear it for Ward. Got a pretty good football coach, too. But let me just tell you that I do have quite a bit of experience in terms of NCAA D1 sports. Your question is a very germane and important one because it's in quite a state of flux, as you know. The Big Ten has really changed quite a bit as of late with the movement of USC and UCLA into the Big Ten. I think it's going to be helpful to have a president who's been at the table during conference realignment. There are waves of conference realignment. There'll probably be future waves of conference realignment, knowing how things work. It's important for the president of an institution to work directly with the athletic director. We have a great athletic director here, to work with Mary Sue, to be brought up to speed with where the thinking is in terms of the conference itself. And so hopefully that answers part of the question. I think that hopefully will be helpful. I said pretty clearly, I hope you heard it, that I'm going to do everything I can to support the coaches and the players to compete at the highest level. Take hopefully Rose Bowl as a possible example of that. But in any case, how would I interact with the coaches and the players? I tend to be there for them. I would go there during practice. I would even, I don't know if it would happen here, but they would suit me up in basketball uniform or football uniform, and Butch Jones used to have them throw passes at me. I'm not very good. I have lots of years of eligibility, but you don't want me to be a Wolverine. But I connect with them, and if you talk with the coaches and the ADs at UBC or Cincinnati, they'll tell you that I'm passionate about it and supportive of them. I've even been known to actually go in there at halftime if the team is behind and give them a pep talk, which is a little unusual for a president. But whatever I can do, I mean, these are difficult roles to be a scholar athlete. You're taking classes and your training and your traveling. They deserve the community and the president's support.
Congratulations, sir. My name's John Hewitt from WWJ Radio.
Hi, John.
Mine is of a more serious nature on the question, but I think an important one to ask. In regard to the recent issues Michigan has been through with sexual harassment claims in the athletic department and also, and certainly not unique to this university. But when we talk about a culture of openness and accessibility for people to be able to speak out if they feel they are being harassed, despite not asking you to go down the history of this issue in particular, but moving forward, what is your view in regard to having a campus that embodies these aspects of striving to allow people to be able to report and be able to feel safe, secure as they get an education here?
Yeah, it's absolutely a top priority for me and for this institution. You've all been following what's happened. Mary Sue Coleman's doing an outstanding job. Wilmer Hale issued a report. I've scanned it. The recommendations that the regents have made, I support fully. I'll tell you that we're in a similar situation when I began at the University of British Columbia. There was no policy. There was no clear office. There had been a couple of committees put together to respond to a similar kind of report. And so I as president, got directly involved in making sure that the policy was stood up, the office was stood up. And so I plan to ensure that that happens here at the University of Michigan. I'm the father of 2 daughters. You know, at the University of British Columbia, I'm the final word in terms of discipline in these sorts of cases. So I have a lot of direct experience in the damage that these sorts of things, sexual assault and harassment, have on young men and women. And so it's unacceptable. And it'll be part of my responsibility, and I need to be held accountable to do everything I can to continue to move this institution forward as it is doing, I think, in a very robust way.
Hello, Santa. My name is Kim Kozlowski, right straight in front of you. I'm a reporter at the Detroit News.
Hi, Kim. How are you?
Thanks for taking my question today.
My pleasure.
I think you just addressed an issue that a lot of people think is an important and a challenge facing this university. I'm curious to know, what do you think are going to be some of the biggest challenges you might face here at the university, and how might you address them?
I don't get turned around. I look at things as opportunities. Challenges are just opportunities to make a place even better. There is no perfect university. There's no perfect institution of any kind that I'm aware of. University of Michigan is pretty remarkable. As I said, it's a stunning institution. To answer your question about those opportunities, or you can call them challenges, as you know from my background as the leader of something called the University Climate Change Coalition, or UC3, really making sure that the carbon neutrality plan moves forward is important for Michigan. It's a passion of the students and faculty and staff of this institution. There are great people here. They need to be supported, and I will. And it's important for the world. And so that's an opportunity. It's a challenge for the world. It's an opportunity that University of Michigan, I think, is uniquely placed to help address. That's one. The issue of, as I said in my remarks, post-pandemic, one thing that's come to fore are issues of diversity and inclusion, and people feeling that they belong in an institution. I want to make sure that I interact with all faculty, staff, and students to hear the concerns that exist at every institution, and do everything in my power to work with the EOs, the executive officers here at this institution, the deans. These are great people, by the way, on this executive team and the deans. I know some of them, and I've read what their priorities and plans are. This is already a priority for them. My job is to do everything I can to support them to make this a diverse and inclusive community. Those are 2. Is that good enough? Okay. All right.
Hey, Santa. Welcome aboard. I'm
Thank
Victor
you.
Williams from Local 4 News in Detroit. I just wanted to see if there were any issues or tasks that you were planning to tackle right out the gate.
Well, no, I think that's most important for me to continue to talk to President Coleman. I understand she's got a binder like this for me to read, And so before, I don't like to make statements about priorities before I'm fully up to speed. I'm going to talk to her and read that. But I will say, I've listened to every single listening session during the presidential search process. I've actually listened to 2 years of YouTube videos of regents meetings. And so I have a pretty good idea of the concerns of the concerns of the community. And so I don't want you to have an impression that I'm not aware of some of the concerns. You have this unique thing at the end of the regents meeting where about 30 minutes or so, people can say whatever they want. I listen to those things. And so I want you to know I'm ready to hit the ground running, but it would be inappropriate for me as a president-elect to say this is what I want to do first. I also need to talk to the executive officers of the university. I mean, they are handling those what we call files or those issues right now, and I need to talk intensively with them. But there are many opportunities. I know a safe one is carbon neutrality is an institutional priority. It's a personal priority. And I want University of Michigan to be viewed worldwide as a leader in climate action.
Hi, I'm David Jesse from the Detroit Free Press. You mentioned listening to the listening sessions, and earlier in the meeting, Regent Illich was talking about those, and one of the things she mentioned was a restoration of trust between the university's administration and the faculty and the students. Wondering what your plans are as you arrive on campus to tackle that particular issue.
Thank you. You know, trust is something that you earn. I'm a new person, and you know, I have no expectations that there will be immediate trust. I want to earn it. And the way I do that is first to listen very carefully about what the concerns are, the basis of mistrust. And so I'm almost certain that in early days I will have those conversations. And I pledge that I will take that input as something that forms how I interact with the community. And I hope that I will be able to prove in the first weeks and months of my tenure that I have listened and that I have reacted appropriately to those concerns. And hopefully I can earn the trust of this great community.
Hi, Isabel Lohman with Bridge, Michigan. You talk about the trust building with faculty, staff, and students. I'm curious, how do you plan to build trust amongst the general Michigan public and with the Michigan legislature, which has at times criticized U of M?
Absolutely. I mean, as the president of a very large public university, University of British Columbia, funded by the province of British Columbia, former president of the University of Cincinnati, funded by the state of Ohio, I have quite a bit of experience interacting with legislatures, and in the case of Ohio, it would be the governor. In the case of British Columbia, it would be the premier. In all cases, I reached out immediately to politicians and to leaders and made it a priority to listen to them, to talk to them about any of those concerns or criticisms that you've mentioned. I need to understand that so that I can integrate that into our responsiveness to that. So to answer your question, that's how I actually build trust at that level. I was very fortunate to have a great relationship with Governor John Kasich, who was the governor of Ohio at that time. And he responded by pointing me to a number of different significant boards and committees for that state that were focused on innovation and technology transfer. For example, when I was first appointed as president of the University of British Columbia, at that time the premier was John Horgan. Was Christy Clark. I'm sorry. The current one's John Horgan. Christy actually appointed me to be the chief innovation advisor for the entire province of BC, and she charged me with actually putting together a network of CEOs and scientists across the province that resulted in the recruitment of a number of companies to the province and significant federal funding from Canada. And so that's what I'll do is one of the first priorities for me will be to interact and get to know them, listen to their concerns, their aspirations, their dreams. And as a state institution, I think it's really important for us to know those aspirations and dreams and to serve Michiganders, really.
We've got
time for one more question, if there's one burning question. Oh, sorry. Here we go.
Thank you.
Gotta move quickly.
Anna Feifelsky, the Michigan Daily. We were just wondering, what does the transition process from interim President Coleman look like? And because there are a few months before you formally take the position, how do you plan on acclimating to such a large and diverse campus? And what plans do you have to engage with groups on campus prior to the start of your tenure?
Yeah, so first of all, as you know, President Coleman has already been working with the executive officers of the university, and they're giving me a binder that I haven't seen yet that's this big. And so I will read that, continue to have conversations with her. She's been fantastic in acclimatizing me to the significant initiatives that are underway at an institution this scale. I will not be a stranger. I hope to come back regularly. I hope to be able to talk to you and to student groups as well in the interim period. 3 months seems like a long time, but it'll fly. Some of it's the summertime. I know there's some major moments at the beginning of the school year, and I'm going to talk to President Coleman, see which ones make sense for me to attend. I'm hoping she'll let me come to a football game, even in those early months, but also welcoming new faculty, staff, and students at the institution. So, you know, it's too early for me to say exactly what I'm going to do, but you know, respecting my responsibilities, ongoing responsibilities to UBC, and respecting the fact that Mary Sue Coleman is the president of University of Michigan right now, I'll work with her to figure out what would be the best level of engagement. But as I said, I'm eager to connect and to engage.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody. Okay.